Senator Hunt, you're recognized to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate everything Senator McKinney just said. You know, how the things that you say on the floor when you have the opportunity to try and funnel more people into religious education under the guise of helping them doesn't match up with your votes or your actions or your words when it's actually time to do things like reduce poverty, make sure these kids have food to eat, make sure these kids have secure housing, all of these other things. You know, we're in the felony factory here in the Nebraska legislature trying to lock these kids up when they're 11 years old, whatever. And of course, Senator McKinney and I have different views on this issue du jour that we're all talking about here today and have taken different votes, but he's exactly right on that point. And I think that stripping down what the actual goal is here of proponents of putting your little $3.5 million into the budget to make sure kids get a religious education is that that's exactly what it is. Senator Storm stands up here for the governor and says he just cares so much about kids. He wants to make sure that every child has the opportunity to get a good education. And this is what is so offensive, that the good education, the only good education that you can get must be one that rich people pay more for. That must be the good education. And what a coincidence that that quote-unquote good education is the religious one. In almost every case, an evangelical Christian one. So why don't you, strip it bare and say what it is you really want these kids to be learning, which is just getting an evangelical Christian religious education. Just say that you want that. And we know from all the other things that you introduce, all the other bills that come through this place, that that is what you want. Turning these teachers into villains, saying that they're indoctrinating kids, putting all these bills through to prevent teachers from quote-unquote teaching about communism or Marxism or the things we get through the Education Committee that are so ridiculous to me, villainizing school librarians. We had a bill to make a list of what books kids are checking out so parents could come in and monitor the list. All of these things are part of this like satanic panic, moralizing, weird modern thing that we have going on right now in our culture, where you feel like you have to police the authority of teachers and educators who are everything. They're everything in this culture, and we will have nothing as a society if we don't invest in education, if we don't trust teachers, and if we also don't invest in our educators and make sure that they are unshackled and they are free and they are able to use their best judgment as the experts in education that they are to bring these kids up. It's not a matter of what you can pay. I mean, I'm a product of public education, and as I've often said here on the floor, it does not matter to this issue. It matters 0.0% if you went to public school or private school, if your kids went to public school or private school, if you liked it or not. None of that matters. What matters is that we're basically debating whether government should intervene in a market, by the way, because you do have to pay for this private education, to make it easier for kids to receive an evangelical Christian education, which, mind you, in those schools, they discriminate. They have, interior rules in their schools about who can be staff, who can be a teacher, what kids they accept. If they've got a couple of gay parents, that's going to be a problem in some of these schools. I did a tour of these schools with Senator Linehan, and I asked their superintendent and principal, if we have a situation with the gay parents, that's okay for the kid to come in, and he wouldn't answer my question. And then furthermore, Senator Linehan scolded me for asking. So that's the level that we're on. Just say that you want these kids to get the discriminatory education, and you want $3.5 million to do it. We are in this position, unquote, quote unquote, of allegedly needing to bridge the gap with this funding because people gave out scholarships when they knew a ballot initiative was coming. So we're in this place of having to catch up because whenever the state authorizes it, we're setting ourselves up for these continued obligations. And let's check one thing that's been said several times. No child is going to get kicked out of school for 1 year over this little $3.5 million. That's not in the realm of reality. That's actually not going to happen. And nobody with sense thinks that. So say what you mean. You want the kids to have Jesus loves me every day. You want the kids to, have
That's
a
your
religious education, and that's what this is about. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank